There are more actions this edition than ever before. Now with the new restrictions from the balance update and the meta watch, we have been restricted on some of the units and some of the things that we were doing beforehand. So in this video I'm going to show you some new methods and new options that may have not been considered when we're talking about actions. So we're going to be talking about some action heroes in this video, and yeah, let's get into it. So we previously had action heroes doing secondary options such as cleanse and deploy homers with the Leviathan pack, and we've seen a few nerfs since the Meta Watch update and the Pariah Nexus deck when that came out. Canoptic Scarabs, for example, they have OC 0, so unless they're within range of a Technomancer or a Command Barge, they can't do actions anymore, and they were one of our action monkeys. They were the ones doing it. They were so easy to hide, so cheap. Nowadays, we can't do it. We need, like I said, a Cryptek or a Command Barge, which costs you points. So running them solo isn't really going to work. We also lost our cleanse machines with the Canoptic Wraiths in the midfield. Their pistols can no longer do the action while within engagement range, which was a really solid play for Necron players because they're so resilient with that 4+ invulnerable save, the 5+ for no pain save from the Technomancer. They were just standing firm in the no man's land, still fighting but also doing the actions with their pistols. OC 2 per model as well, so we were almost always owning the objective. And also our monsters and vehicles took a hit too with the balance update because, well, say goodbye to my upcoming Ghost Dark spam list because they aren't going to be doing cleanse anymore. That was what I was going to go towards. I was going to have 5 Ghost Darks, throw them onto the no man's land objectives and just start cleansing. Can't do it if they're within engagement range, which was the whole point of it. So yeah, that video is not happening, guys, but they can still do actions as normal, but I think the whole point of them, like I said, is if they get tagged, they were still doing it. So yeah, cleanse was a solid pick for Necron players if they were playing fixed, and even if they were coming out of the deck playing tactical, it was a solid option. Now, that's just cleanse. I mean, there's obviously other action secondaries, and we've got some new ones too, like sabotage and recover assets. Established locus isn't new, but it's reworded. But what are the new action heroes within the codex? What are we going to go towards now that we can't rely on those wraiths and not always with the Canoptic Scarabs? The first noteworthy mention for an action hero within the Necrons codex is the Canoptic Reanimator. Now the Reanimator isn't doing much at range, and it shouldn't really be charging unless it's to get onto an objective or get closer to something like a Catan maybe. It does work well with the Catan, but as a single action hero, it's decent. It's semi-durable because it's got toughness 6 wounds, a 4+ feel no pain save due to its datasheet. So and that in fact the reanimation protocols is double as well because of its own translocation beam aura. So that makes it, like I said, semi-durable. It still can go down, don't get me wrong, it still can go. But if you get it behind a ruin or something, it's not going to be able to be targeted. Now don't forget it is a vehicle, so if you are playing the Hypercrypt Legion, you can use the Quantum Deflection Stratagem, which will give it a 4+ invulnerable save on top of all the other saves it has with the Feel No Pain. And if you're playing the Canoptic Court, well there's 3 options I've got for you. You've got the Reactive Subroutines, which is the reactionary move. So if anything gets within 9 inches, you can move away just to keep it alive. Just make sure you're not doing one of those actions that require you to end the action at the end of your opponent's turn. Maybe it's sabotage and you're doing it within the terrain feature. You start moving out because of your reaction move. You're not now in the terrain feature, so you've got to be careful of that. You've got the counter-temporal shift, which is being able to not be targeted within, well, you have to be within 18-inch range to target it. It's 1 CP. Maybe it's something else will keep it up and running throughout the rest of the battle. And the suboptimal facade to be able to use reanimation protocols if charged. It's sort of a last-ditch backup plan, just in case you're a few wounds short, already damaged, and you don't want to go down with it. So yeah, there's a few options for the Canoptic Reanimator, but 75 points, I think that's a reasonable price for something that's going to do actions nowadays, considering the Scarabs are almost a no-go without Crypteks. Next, we've got the Hexmark Destroyer. Now, a lot of people were using the Hexmark as an action hero anyway, before the MetaWatch updates. But now even more players are going to start to be using the Hexmark Destroyer. I mean, they are virtually auto-includes for me now. I have them in every list, every detachment. They are so good. The Deep Strike option is huge, especially for the new secondaries. Again, Established Locus, which isn't new. Recover Assets, again, if you want to go for the 6 VP with Recover Asset, you're going to need to get into your opponent's deployment zone somehow. He can sneak into enemy backquarters quite comfortably. He's got Lone Operative as well. That's the main thing, really. Lone Op is huge. So it's not going to be straightforward to kill a Hexmark Destroyer. You've got to get within 12 inches to fire at it. And if you do, we get to Overwatch you back on a 2+, not a 6. So there's a lot that the Hexmark can do. If you decide to use him for those more closer to home secondary missions, he's able to do them as well. You could do Recover Assets just outside your deployment zone, or even one inside. The 3 victory points if you get 2 done, and 6 if you get 3 done. So the Hexmarks could be one of those units. If it's in your own deployment zone, it's going to be extremely hard to kill him off before your opponent's turn ends, because again, Lone Op, maybe sitting in a ruin and you pull Sabotage, not going to be easy to kill him. He could be surrounded by a unit, and then he could be doing Cleanse in the No Man's Land potentially. And also that works nice because any unit within 3 that gets targeted, the Hexmark can go ping ping. So if you are playing the Awakened Dynasty, you've got the Feel No Pain enhancement for 15 points for a 4+ Feel No Pain save. It's sort of a plan B, just a little bit more protection. If you didn't fancy that, for 20 points you can have Stealth optional there. But what I quite like with the Awakened Dynasty is the Protocol of Eternal Revenant. So if it does go down, at the end of the phase you can bring it back up for a CP on half the wounds. So it's sort of a plan C at that point if you start to stack these up. Now with the Hypercrypt Legion, it's going to aid his defense a lot more, because as soon as your opponent edges closer towards the Hexmark, maybe they're lining up a charge for the next turn, you simply just pick him up. And then what's great is he comes down in our next movement phase. So if you are playing tactical, you've already drawn your cards, you already know what you need to do. So you can position him where you need to position him. If you are playing fixed and you're playing Established Locus, you can just put him on the other flank. So all the enemy units have started to go towards a certain corner, you lift him up and put him in the opposite corner, and then they've got to then start foot slogging that way. So he's so good. The next one is a cool one. I need to try this more. I need to do this more. It's the Locust Lord. And I'm talking about a lone Locust Lord, not one with a unit of Locust Destroyers or Locust Heavy Destroyers, just a single lone Locust Lord. I think he's a superb action hero because he's 80 points and you get the speed, you get the durability for what a small character has. I mean, obviously he's not got a ridiculous amount of wounds and whatnot, but he's a single character. He's got the invulnerable save, but there's also something that he's got on his datasheet that a lot of people seem to forget about. Instead of taking the Resurrection Orb, you can opt to swap out that orb for the Nano Scarab Amulet, which is essentially a 5+ Feel No Pain save. This isn't an enhancement, it's free war gear. You don't need the Resurrection Orb because you're not leading a unit. So a 5+ Feel No Pain save on a really durable small character for 80 points is pretty decent. And what's fun about this is because it's not an enhancement, that Feel No Pain save, you can do this 3 times. You can have 3 individual Locust Lords, all with Feel No Pain saves, all running around with the Lord's Blade, with 8 inches of movement, just doing your actions. That's quite a tanky little set of units there. Now if you're talking detachments again, the Awakened Dynasty has got the 4+ Feel No Pain save. So if you want to upgrade that Feel No Pain from a 5 to a 4, you can do it that way. Personally though, I would just take a Scorpet Lord at this point and put it on the Scorpet Lord. The Scorpet Lord's got an extra wound, an extra point of toughness because it's toughness 7. So you may as well put it on the Scorpet Lord. In fact, how much does the Scorpet Lord cost? Because let's have a little check. It's also 80. So they're the exact same points, but you get more toughness, more wounds, doing damage on the charge. You've got a ranged weapon, so it would be better on the Scorpet Lord there. So in actual fact, you could take a Scorpet Lord on his own, then 3 Locust Lords on their own, and everything has a Feel No Pain save. I need to try that, you know. Next list I might do that. That sounds cool. Sticking with this attachment, you could opt to use a Veil of Darkness Relic, 20 points. So throw them at the other end of the battlefield in turn, it could be turn 1, but it depends if you go first or second. Turn 2 onwards, I suppose, for sure, and that's going to be maybe Established Locus, doing the action across the battlefield. Again, durable, not Lone Op like the Hexmark Destroyer, but like I said, the 4+ invulnerable save, the Feel No Pain save, It's decent. It's decent. Hypercrypting with the hyperphase, hyperphasing with hypercrypt even, that's the right way around. You've got the deep strike option with the Ostroclave Fulcrum. I mean, I think it's probably better just to use Cosmic Precision and save the points. Cosmic Precision is 1 CP, you don't have any restriction of 9 inches. Pop them in, do the action, and that way you don't have to be 6 inches from the edge of the battlefield. You can still put them in a corner, but if it is turn 2, you can't do that because it's your opponent's deployment zone. You can't do that from strategic reserves. By using the Cosmic Precision stratagem, you can. So I think I'd rather save the 20 points there and use the stratagem. Another option post-Meta Watch are the Tomb Blades. Now, Tomb Blades, again, people were already using these for scoring, but I think they've got better and worse at the same time, if that's actually possible. We can't advance and do an action with them anymore with their tether option, so that took away something they were really good at. They were scouting, doing a movement, doing an action, and so on. Now, we can't do that. However, because this is restricted not just the Tomb Blades, but also the Immortals with their Tesla Carbines, it means that we're relying more so on the Tomb Blades because of their speed. They've got that 12 inches of movement after the 9-inch scout move. They also can move after firing, but we're trying to talk about actions in this video, so we're not going to be firing anything. Now, there's a few things that have gone under the radar for a lot of players, in particular with this Pariah Nexus deck. Now, the maps, there are 6 maps. Some of them are new, some of them are changed. There's 6 of these. Now, out of the 6 maps, 4 of them have a no man's land gap of 20 inches or less. 20 inches or less. So if you've got a 9-inch scout move and you've got a 12-inch movement, that's 21 inches of potential movement. Obviously, terrain features and whatnot are going to be a factor, so we've got to take that into consideration, especially in competitive play, because there's a lot of terrain. But if you can find a straight line somewhere, they can go 21 inches, get into, well, some of these map types are only 18 inches or even 16 inches, I believe, in terms of the gap. So they can get in there quite easily and start doing established locust behind enemy lines. Well, I know that's not an action, but they can be doing that turn 1. You've obviously got to be very lucky. Or also depends on your opponent's deployment and screening and the terrain, as we mentioned. But they can do it. It is possible. But even that's just turn 1. I mean, there's still 4 other turns that they can be doing this kind of stuff. So they're going to be very useful for doing any type of action. Maybe it's doing actions such as cleanse. Maybe you need to get onto another objective that you don't currently have and it's quite far away. These guys can go 12 inches and then start cleansing it. So the speed is going to get them to where they want to go. Maybe it's containment on the flanks of the battlefield and you put everything into the center and you've got nothing on the flanks within 9 inches. I mean, 9 inches is quite a big area, to be fair, so you should have something, but you need it on 2 table edges that are not your table edge. So the Tomb Blades can zip to one of these table edges and then do that action. Something they can do. Flayed ones, they're not my cup of tea, I'm not going to lie. They're not something I like to use that often, but I understand the reason why people use them. Especially early battle rounds, early game. They've got the Infiltrator's ability and stealth on top. So if you do go first, and you do pull a secondary that relates to an action in the no man's land area, then potentially the Flayed ones have already done their job. Established locust can be done in the centre of the battlefield, an early cleanse perhaps. I mean, area denial, although it's not an action, is something that they can get involved in. The actions that end in your opponent's turn, though, are going to be a little bit more tricky for Flayed ones because they're quite lightweight. They've got the 4+ armor saves and all that stuff, so they probably won't last to complete the action. But early game, especially if you get first turn and you've got an action within their radius, yeah, you get your points back instantly. If they die after that, it's fine. They've got their points and that's all you really need. And then we come on to some Lich Guard. Lich Guard are the forgotten unit since the Canoptic Wraiths, but the Canoptic Wraiths have gone down in, well, they've gone up in value, in price, in points, but gone down in value because of their pistols and all that stuff. The Swords and Boards Lich Guard, they're not going to be shooting, and they don't really need to charge. They've got the lack of speed there, only moving whatever they move nowadays. Is it 5 or 6? Let's check that. Let's not get things wrong. And let's not click Monolith. Yeah, they're moving 5, aren't they? So I would run them as a min unit. 85 points for 5 Lich Guard with the 4+ invulnerable save, 2 wounds apiece. They could be doing cleanse. just sitting on an objective, scoring your primaries anyway. Maybe it's sabotage, stick them in a terrain feature, and that's going to end on your opponent's turn. But if they're not going to be visible, they're on the ground floor of a ruin perhaps, and they're doing this action, it's going to be quite difficult for your opponent to get rid of them all. Maybe it's recover assets, the nearby zones, your deployment zone or the no man's land, maybe they'll be doing that. Again, they're quite difficult to shift, especially if you can't see them. I mean, there's no cryptic option, so they're going to be useless in the Canoptic Court. In the Obeisance Phalanx, however, they do have the right keywords. They've got Lich Guard, of course. So you can actually get more OC with the Territorial Obsession stratagem to make them have 3 OC per model. And this is done in your command phase, so you can actually steal primaries, but also steal objectives that can then be cleansed. So you can do the action cleanse because you've just gained more OC. That's providing that you're not within engagement range, of course, because you can't do it if you are. So yeah, that's some new action heroes. Some are new, some are just recycled. Some of you were already doing this stuff, but a lot of you weren't. So I thought, you know what, let's give out some of this information because of these new updates. But guys, if you've got any more action heroes to add, put them down in the comments. I like anyone's comment that has tickled your fancy. And also don't forget to subscribe on your way out.